We are starting a new drama called Light Shop. The story begins with a woman named Ji-young, who is seen observing a light shop but then leaves. Next, we see a man named Hyun-min on a bus, returning from work. When he gets off the bus, he notices a woman sitting on a bench but walks away. The next day, Hyun-min, again returning from work, notices the same woman on the bench. This time, he hears a sound she makes with her hands but still ignores it and leaves. However, on the following day, he can't resist and talks to her. Hyun-min asks why she's there, and woman Ji-young replies that she's waiting for someone. Hyun-min points out that the last bus has already left and asks if she's waiting for a personal vehicle, but Ji-young says that's impossible as she doesn't have a cell phone. Hyun-min offers to help her, but she doesn't respond and instead asks if he knows her. Hyun-min hesitates and walks away. The next day, it rains heavily as Hyun-min returns from work. He notices Ji-young still sitting on the bench, so he gives Ji-young his umbrella to shield her from the rain. However, she again asks if he knows her. Confused, Hyun-min mentions that they spoke just yesterday. Ji-young then asks if they will meet again tomorrow, leaving Hyun-min puzzled. Hyun-min tells her to keep the umbrella and says he lives nearby and can walk. Ji-young, feeling cold, asks if she can go with him. Hyun-min hesitates but agrees. When they reach his house, Hyun-min offers to help her with her bag. But Ji-young refuses. Hyun-min asks if she's okay and offers to call her a taxi, but she declines. They take the elevator to his apartment, and then go to his house. When Hyun-min tries to turn on the lights, Ji-young stops him and steps inside. In the next scene, we see a man walking into a hospital, but his face is not shown. The focus shifts to the hospital staff. The head nurse Jong-won is working while the other nurses flatter her, saying she works too much and should join them for food. Head refuses, saying someone needs to monitor the equipment. Another nurse, Young-gi, offers to stay back so others can go. When the staff invites Young-gi to join them, she declines, saying she'll manage everything. The head nurse advises her to call if there's an issue, and everyone leaves. While Young-gi is alone, a man arrives. She tells him he shouldn't be there as only staff are allowed. The man looks around and doesn't respond. Young-gi thought that he can't hear her. Young-gi then uses sign language to communicate. The man asks where the mortuary is. Suddenly, an alert sounds on the monitor, signaling an issue with a patient. Young-gi calls the others, and they work together to stabilize the patient, discovering that someone had tampered with the equipment. A nurse suggests it was a mistake due to her during setup, and the head nurse scolds her. Later, Young-gi remembers the man but realizes he's no longer there. Meanwhile, we see a man in a house. Shivering from the cold, frustrated by the barking of dogs that won't stop. He yells at the dogs in anger. We see a man named Wonyoung in a light shop, looking at light bulb. A customer enters and Wonyoung asks his purpose, to which the customer says he needs a light bulb. Wonyoung gives him the bulb, and the customer leaves. Afterward, Wonyoung pulls out a diary where he has written some names. Then, we see Young-gi working on a computer and seeing something. Later, the same man comes to the shop. Wonyoung asks his purpose, but the man doesn't respond and instead looks around as if searching for something before leaving. Next, we see a girls' school where a girl is in the playground. Meanwhile, a woman enters the light shop and asks for a light bulb and Wonyoung give her a bulb and the lady asks why this shop is so bright. The woman says the shop isn't noticeable during the day but shines brightly at night and asks if the shop stays open late. Wonyoung confirms this, and the woman leaves. Back at the school, a girl named Hyunju is sitting in the classroom, waving at the girl in the playground. Soon, the other students enter the class, and the teacher starts taking attendance. At the light shop, another man enters and comments on how bright the shop is. He mentions it's cold where he came from and moves further inside, trying to touch a bulb. As soon as he reaches for the bulb, Wonyoung's glasses color change and Wonyoung stops him from touching the bulb. The man complains about a dog barking incessantly. However, Wonyoung says he hasn't heard any dog barking. The man insists he will find the dog and leaves. After he leaves, Young stares at the bulb, seemingly deep in thought. Meanwhile, it begins to rain heavily outside. At the school, the thunder and lightning frighten the students. One girl begins to tell a story about a mysterious girl seen by some people but whose identity remains unknown. Another student interrupts, saying ghost stories she should stop. The girl then mentions how every class has an empty seat and points to an unoccupied desk, scaring the others. However, not everyone believes her story. Back in the light shop, another customer enters, a woman named Haiwan. Wonyoung asks her, "What brings you here?" and the lady doesn't respond and tries to touch the light bulb, but Wonyoung touches glasses, and tells the woman to stop. The woman hesitates and leaving the shop. Outside the school, 4 girls are walking home in the rain. One of them points to an alley, saying strange sounds and sights come from there. Hyunju mentions she needs to buy something for her mother and heads toward the alley, while the others leave. As Hyunju walks through the alley, she hesitates and hears the sound of footsteps behind her. Turning around, she sees something that frightens her, causing her to run. She eventually reaches the light shop and Wonyoung greets her as if he already knows her. Wonyoung asks if she has come to buy bulb for her mother. Hyunju says yes, and then Wonyoung gives Hyunju candy and even removes the wrapper for her. Hyunju asks him if he still thinks of her as a child. To this, Wonyoung replies that, yes, she is still like a child to him, especially since she wears a locket like a child. Hyunju explains that the locket was given to her by her father and that it represents her identity. She shares how her father works abroad and how she doesn't get to see him often. Wonyoung sympathizes, saying her father loves her deeply and is proud of her. Hyunju then asks Wonyoung about his age, but he avoids giving an unclear answer. Hyunju then asks why he's wearing sunglasses indoors. He replies that it's because the brightness here is too much for him. Hyunju comments that he should dim the lights, but Wonyoung says he can't as it's a light shop. Hyunju notices Wonyoung drinks a lot of coffee and asks how long he keeps the shop open. Wonyoung tells her that the shop remains open until sunrise. Hyunju finds it comforting because she feels scared walking through the alley at night, but knowing his shop is lit, she feels safer coming there as Wonyoung is also here. Hyunju then mentions that there's a ghost in the area and that she has seen it. Wonyoung is shocked and asks her more about it. Hyunju explains that she didn't get a good look, but she's sure someone was there. Wonyoung reveals that she has a special gift. The ability to see things others cannot. He explains that there are 2 kinds of people, ordinary people and strangers, who might look like us but are not like us. When Hyunju asks how to distinguish them, Wonyoung says it's not always easy but tells her to observe carefully. Some strangers may have subtle oddities about them. Scared, Hyunju asks what she should do if she encounters such strangers. Wonyoung advises her to pretend that she hasn't noticed anything strange and to treat them like normal people. He emphasizes not crossing their path or drawing their attention. At this moment, we see Wonyoung's reflection in a mirror, but instead of his usual self, it's an old man. Wonyoung, noticing the time, tells Hyunju she should go home as it's late. He apologizes for telling such scary stories, but Hyunju reassures him that she liked the story. She gets ready to leave, and Wonyoung gives her a gift, a small light. Hyunju thanks him and leaves. After she's gone, Wonyoung places the candy wrapper she had left behind into a box where he seems to have kept several such wrappers before. The scene shifts to Ji-young in his apartment. At the time, Hyunmin brings her a towel. Ji-young wipes his face and returns the towel, but Hyunmin notices something strange and gets scared. Hyunmin goes to the bathroom. While there he had seen Ji-young's fingers were bent backward. He recalls hearing strange sounds from the bench when Ji-young was sitting at the bench. When Hyunmin returns to check, Ji-young drops her suitcase, revealing many weapons inside. She picks up a weapon, and tension rises between him and Hyunmin. Meanwhile, Hyunju is walking toward her apartment. She notices Ji-young stepping out of an apartment with a suitcase. Hyunju greets her with a "hello" as Ji-young walks past. Then we see blood dripping from Ji-young's suitcase and Ji-young is shocked that Hyunju can see her too. The episode ends with this intense moment. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for further episodes.